Let me ask you something. You've got money in the market, maybe a 401k, some ETFs, maybe a bond fund that your financial advisor told you was safe, and on paper it all looks great. Numbers going up and it feels good. But let me ask you this, have you ever actually held wealth in your hands? Because there is a difference, a massive one, and once you feel it, you cannot unfeel it. Today we're going to talk about something that most financial channels will not touch, the mindset shift that happens when you stop trusting promises and start holding real money. We're talking physical silver and gold, why it's not what most people think it is, and exactly how to use it in a way that's practical, logical, and frankly, overdue. So let's get into it. Right off the bat, if you're liking these videos, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So the illusion of ownership, here's what nobody in the financial industry wants to say out loud. When you buy a stock, an ETF, a bond, you are not buying a thing, you are buying a promise, a legal claim, a number in a database sitting on a server you've never seen, maintained by an institution that you are trusting completely. And most of the time, that's fine. The system works until it doesn't. And that's exactly where I want to start because I think most people have never heard or even thought about what happens when the system doesn't work. They assume it always will, and history disagrees. When I hold a silver eagle in my hand, that's it. That's the asset. There's no CEO who can mismanage it into bankruptcy. There's no counterparty who has to make good on a contract. There's no brokerage that can freeze my account. It just is. And that is not a small thing. It's a fundamentally different relationship with wealth, and I want you to really sit with that before I go any further. Let me tell you about a story that didn't get nearly enough attention when it happened, and I promise after you hear this, you will never look at a brokerage account the same way again. The year is 2011. MF Global is one of the largest futures brokers in the world, a very serious institution. Household name in the commodities space, and their CEO, John Corzine, the former head of Goldman Sachs, former U.S. Senator, former governor of New Jersey. And this is not some shady offshore operation. This is the financial establishment right at its highest level. Behind the scenes, Corzine had been making massive leverage bets on European sovereign debt, Greek bonds, Italian bonds, Spanish bonds, and as those countries started teetering on the edge of default, MF Global's position was getting destroyed. So what did they do? They reached into customer accounts, segregated customer accounts, and accounts that were legally supposed to be untouchable, off limits, and walled off from the firm's own money by regulation and by law. So about $1.6 billion in customer funds disappeared, just totally gone. And these weren't degenerate gamblers. These were farmers hedging crop prices, commodity traders running legitimate businesses, and people who had done everything right and trusted the system to protect them. Corzine himself testified before Congress under oath, and he sat there and said in so many words that he didn't know where the money went. Nobody went to prison because of this. Customers spent years fighting through bankruptcy proceedings to claw back pennies on the dollar. And that's the story, and that's the lesson I want you to have burned into your brain. Segregated and yours are not the same word in the paper world. When things go sideways, when an institution is desperate, legal protections that looked airtight become very negotiable very fast. The lawyers get creative, the regulators look the other way, and you, sitting at home watching your account balance, have no idea it's happening until it's already done. Your silver bar in a safe, nobody can take that from you, nobody can lend it out, nobody can make it disappear in a derivatives trade. It's there, it's yours, full stop. Now let's talk about the money you're using to buy all those paper assets. The US dollar has lost over 97% of its purchasing power since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913. Not 10%, not 30, 97%. And they are not slowing down. Since 2020 alone, they have printed more money than in the entire prior history of the United States. So let that sink in for a second. So when your stock portfolio goes up 8% a year, congratulations. But if real inflation ran 6, 7, 8, you barely moved. You are running on a treadmill and you feel like you're going somewhere, but you're actually not. Silver and gold, don't inflate away. You can't print more of them easily. There are finite ounces in the ground, and it takes real labor, real energy, and real capital to actually pull them out. So that's real value backed by reality, not a central bank's printing press. And here's a simple example that I love because it's undeniable. A silver dime from 1964, which is 90% silver. Today, that dime has enough silver in it to buy roughly what it bought in 1964, a cup of coffee, a small purchase. The metal held its value across 60 years of economic chaos, inflation, wars, recessions, and financial crisis. The modern dime, on the other hand, it buys almost nothing. The metal held its own, the paper did not, and that is not an accident. That's the nature of real money versus manufactured currency. Now let's talk the mindset shift. So here's how I want to get real with you because this is the part most people miss entirely. The financial media won't cover it, your advisor won't bring it up, but it's the whole thing. Stacking physical silver and gold is not just a financial decision, it's a philosophical one. When you hold paper assets, you are playing by someone else's rules. The market opens at 9:30 and closes at 4. Your broker can halt trading, the government can freeze accounts, and these aren't conspiracy theories, they're history, and recent history at that. In 2022, for example, Canada froze the bank accounts of peaceful protesters without a court order. In 2015, Greece limited ATM withdrawals to 60 euros a day, while the banking system teetered on the edge. Another example, in 2013, Cyprus seized money directly from bank accounts as part of a government bailout, not from banks, but from individual depositors, regular people like you and me. In every single one of those situations, if you held physical metal, nothing changed for you. Your stack sat exactly where you left it, unaffected, untouchable, outside of the system entirely. When you hold physical metal, you are opting out of that dependency, at least partially. You are saying, I want a portion of my wealth to exist outside of institutions, outside of counterparties, outside of digital ledgers that can be altered, frozen, or seized. And I think the first time you hold a dollar, like a silver round in your hand, or a gold round, you can feel it's dense and it's heavier than it looks, and it just feels real in a way that a brokerage statement simply does not. And that feeling is not nostalgia, it's not paranoia. That feeling is telling you something true about the nature of value, and once you feel it, it's very hard to go back to being completely comfortable with only paper money. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Okay, but my S&P 500 index fund compounds over time and silver just sits there. And look, that's a fair point. I'm not here to tell you to liquidate your portfolio and go full pirate chest. That would be very irresponsible, and that is not what I do. To add to that point, I actually did a video earlier comparing over the last 20 years silver, gold, and S&P 500, and I'll put a link to that in the description. But essentially, over the last 20 years, it all kind of came out ahead. They all came out about equal, and that's really surprising. That's even including dividends in the S&P 500. So let's continue on. Here's the reframe that changes everything about the way you see precious metals versus S&P 500. The precious metals are not your growth asset, they are your insurance asset. They are the foundation underneath everything else that you're building. Think of it this way. When a financial system hits serious turbulence, and historically it does roughly every decade from time, or pretty regularly, your paper assets could get cut in half. Your brokerage account could get frozen, and your dollars could lose purchasing power faster than your returns can compensate. Silver and gold, on the other hand, they just sit there. They're still there, still real, and still accepted everywhere on Earth, no questions asked, and no account number required. So it's not about getting rich off of silver. It's about not getting wiped out when the promises stop being kept. It's about having a base layer of wealth that's immune to the specific risks that paper assets carry. And for a lot of people, especially people who have never owned anything truly tangible, that peace of mind is worth more than chasing another 0.5% of yield. Okay, so how do you actually put this all into practice? Because I'm not telling you to obsess over spot prices or turn into a full-time metal trader. That's a completely different animal. Here's the framework I use, and I want you to hear how simple it is. Treat your physical metals like insurance. Pick a percentage of your net worth, stack to it, and adjust once per year. For most people, somewhere between 5 and 15% of your net worth in physical metals is a reasonable target. If you're more concerned about systematic risk, lean towards 15. If you're younger and heavily growth focused, maybe 5% is your starting floor. The exact number matters less than picking one, committing to it, and being consistent with your purchases. So here's how this works. Let's say your net worth is 100,000 and you decide 10% is your target. That's 10 grand in physical silver and gold, and you stack until you hit that number, and then you actively stop buying and you let it sit. And then once a year, I do it every January, you check two things. Did your net worth change significantly? And do you need to add more to your precious metals stack to bring it up to that 10%? So if your net worth grew and your stack is only 7% of the total, you buy a little bit more to get back to 10. If silver had a massive run and your metals climbed to 14%, maybe you don't add to your precious metals position for that year or for some time. You could also rebalance, but then you take a tax hit. I'd recommend you just hold it until your other assets, go up. So in short, you're not trading silver, you're not watching the spot price. That's a different game and it'll probably drive you crazy. You set it, you do like a planned buy every month, every couple months, whatever strategy works for you. And then you revisit it once a year when you do your net worth statement. So the nice thing about this approach is it removes all the emotion from the equation. You're not panic buying when the dollar looks shaky, and you're not panic selling when stocks are ripping and silver feels boring. You have a policy, you have a plan, and you follow it, and that policy protects you from yourself as much as it protects you from the system. I think of it as like car insurance. You don't cancel your car insurance in a good year because you didn't have an accident. You don't double your coverage because you saw a crash on the highway. You pick a level of coverage that makes sense for your life, you maintain it, and you stop thinking about it. Your stack is your financial insurance policy, and unlike your car insurance, this one also builds real tangible value over time. So if you've been a paper asset investor sitting on the sidelines wondering whether physical metals are worth it, here's what I want you to do. Don't overthink it, don't wait for the perfect price, and don't wait for a crisis to make it obvious. That's too late. Pick a percentage, buy a coin or two, just kind of see if it's for you. Hold it, feel the weight of that ounce. And then ask yourself, how does this feel compared to a number on a screen? And I think you already know the answer. All right, that's it for this one. Like and subscribe if this video hit different. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, and I will see you in the next one.